so thrilled. I am so honored to be here because Dr. Bernice King invited me here. I'm so proud to be here. I'm proud to be with Cathy Hughes, the one and only Urban One, Radio One, TV One, the one and only. And I mean, not just a legend and an icon, but somebody who paved the way for all of us who came behind her. And a couple of examples as a DC native. We all know Ms. Hughes' story, but at WHUR, Howard University transformed that station. I had the opportunity to intern at WHUR, a communications class at the Cathy Hughes School of Communications at Howard University. I got a little training there as well. And you all know and are very familiar with The Quiet Storm, that wonderful, beautiful evening programming that really transformed evening programming for so many of us. I think it was 480 stations when it started.
480
just blew up, and so I think the birth rate 9 months after it quadrupled. I'm just saying. That was a beautiful, beautiful way to celebrate you and to be a part of just the pathway that you created for all of us. So thank you so much.
It was the credential that enabled me to borrow my first $1 million loan.
Yes. And I want to talk about, because we're here, and Dr. King put it so well this morning and last night, about the power of community and purpose and really creating platforms that last. And we're in a world of hurt right now, I think, in some ways, and in terms of media and just really pushing back and making sure that we have free speech, that we have voices. I want you to begin with talking about your journey as a young person who had the heart and the faith to believe that there were platforms in ways that Black voices in particular could be heard and amplified.
First, if I can just give praise and thanks to God. I try to do that before I ever use a microphone because I know it is a blessing for us to have our voices magnified, but also to Dr. King. It is such an honor for me to be here with you, having known both your mother and your father. I can't tell you how excited. I did an interview 2 days ago, and they asked me what was the most exciting aspect of my career. And I said, being here with you today. Okay, I said, being here with you today. When I was 15, I ran away with 2 other of my girlfriends to Resurrection City. And Dr. King evidently had an aide who came to him and said, we've got some runaways here, and they're young girls. And he said, you young ladies need to be going home before you get us all in trouble. So I knew that I did not like the image, the story that was being told about my people. My mother's from Mississippi, and she liked to always say that they study Black history 365 days out of the year. It wasn't just the month of February. That she grew up in an environment where they used Black history as inspiration for Black people in Mississippi to do better, to improve their lives. So I come to Washington, D.C., a Black city at that time called Chocolate City. We were like 74% of the population.
I remember.
Now, exactly, Chocolate City.
Growing up.
One of my air personalities said, we now are just a few sprinkles. We're no longer Chocolate City. We just have vanilla ice cream with a few sprinkles on it. I did not like what I was seeing. And my very first job was in the newspaper industry with the Omaha Star. Simone Sanders' mother now owns it and operates it. Is 85 years old. Wow. And that was my very first job. And the publisher, Mildred Brown, always said that it was important for us to have our own communications, control our own communications outlet, be it print or electronic, because it should not be the responsibility of another culture to really understand what's important to us and who we are.
That's right.
And what we desire. Dr. King was a master at that. He understood that the story was very important to change the mentality before laws were even enacted in this country. And if you got someone else telling your story, it's like the African proverb that the hunt will always be from the hunter's perspective until the lion learns how to talk. That's right. Okay. All right. And that's the same thing with our community. We cannot depend on someone else to tell our story. Frederick Douglass understood that. Ida B. Wells. There were individuals who got into Black-owned and controlled media well before we even had the ability. And it was interesting because, as you know, Ida B. Wells was burned out twice, okay, because the opposition understood the importance of us controlling our own outlets and being able to say things for I was on the air for 11 years. 8 of those years, Dick Gregory was with me, and the only reason he could say what he really felt that was going on in this country is because he was sitting next to the person who was the decision maker on that microphone that he was on.
That's right.
And so he could say things that we used to get hate letters from the White House, from various divisions, because they were like, you can't be telling people that this is happening. This is a conspiracy theory. They tried to paint Dick Gregory as a conspiracy theorist. Dr. Martin Luther King understood that this was a genius, okay, that was at his right hand, okay, that he was a visionary. He could see what was actually going on. He had the unique ability to connect the dots. And for 8 years, I was blessed to be able to give him that platform that he used to like to say resurrected his career. It was more important. He was able to inform. Information is power. He was able to tell Black folks in the Washington community that one day they would no longer be Chocolate City.
That's right. Let me ask you this, because, and by the way, we used to get a couple of hate calls from the administration when I covered it as well. That hasn't changed. It hasn't changed all that much.
So now the administration just lifts your license and puts you out of business.
Well, I mean, now we don't even have those platforms. And I want you to explain to our audience, because it really was very bold and courageous that you were able to have the vision to see that the ownership, the platforms, not just the content, not just the personality, we were personalities as well, but the platforms themselves made the difference.
Because you have to, ownership gives you the protection, all right? I have a boarding school that's 117 years old in Mississippi that was started by my grandfather, called the Pineywood School. And Pineywood School is its own city.
That's right.
Okay. Because Booker T. Washington went around to all the Black schools of his day and said to them, each state was different, but if you had so many acres, you could incorporate it. And you could incorporate your school into its own city. We have our own zip code. We have our own post office that, because of protection. Ownership is protection, and this is what Booker T was saying to these Black institutions well before HBCU was even a term that was used, that you need to be able to protect what you're doing.
Can you tell the audience just very quickly that story about your grandfather that you were talking about, and the fact in Mississippi that he was almost lynched?
He was on the horse.
Yeah, just briefly tell that.
Okay, a quick story. He was on the horse. They have pictures and everything. Ancestry.com. Again, Dr. King is in Salt Lake City. A lot of people don't know that. Or they just a Mormon company. But anyway, so they have pictures. They have found written accounts and everything to, verify. He was on the horse. They were getting ready to lynch him because he had taken his PhD, which was an EDD from Iowa State, the first Black person in the Midwest to get a PhD in education to teach. He went to Mississippi. He said God sent him there to teach Black folks how to read and write. While they're trying to lynch him, the largest landowner comes up on a horse saying, what's going on with a nigger on a horse? Said, he teaching these darkies how to read and write. He said, wait a minute. And he goes up to my grandfather. He said, you been to college? My grandfather said, yes, sir. And he said, you know how to teach people how to read and write? He said, yeah. He said, can you teach white people how to read and write? This man was illiterate. Okay. The very next week, he said, get that nigga down. So my grandfather turned the lynching into a fundraiser because this man gave him money and property to teach his family. Okay. We've been doing it for 116 years now. Because education is an issue with all groups worldwide. It's a global issue. And this rich landowner knew that his family, he came to the classes with my grandfather and learned how to read and write. Again, but it was Booker T who taught my grandfather how to keep the Klan off the property, so he never ended up on a horse again. It was how to incorporate him. Ownership gives you a level of protection. Traditional media is in danger now because we're controlled by the Federal Communications Commission.
So you are, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are the second wealthiest, is that right?
No, that's Wikipedia. I just
what
the other day.
What do they talk about?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I said, I must look like Sheila Johnson. Sheila Johnson is the richest Black woman in the United States of America. I want you all to know that.
Yes. Yeah.
Her divorce settlement was $500 million when Bob sold BET. It was in the newspapers.
But
okay, all right. She took it and became the richest. She has 9 major resorts, okay? 9 of them. She has 820 employees in Jamaica that were affected by the hurricane that she is personally supporting. She put them up in housing. Okay, that's just one of her resorts that she has 820.
So we all know she's so impressive. But my point is, you're not doing
sorry, no.
Yeah, you're not doing so bad yourself. You're not doing so bad yourself. Wikipedia puts you pretty much in good company, let's just say. So how do we, I mean, we don't, not all of us have those platforms, and we have to control the narrative. We have to take ownership. How do we make that leap? Because you did some things that were pretty extraordinary very early on in your career. When you had $1 million in debt, you ended up taking your son and living in one of your radio stations while you were trying to sort out all the money. We're in a precarious time now. What do you recommend people do when they listen and they hear that message that we got to take ownership here? How do you do that? How do you have that?
My family has a mantra that you cannot do well in life until you first do good for someone else. Okay. And we function with that. It's never been about the money for me. And please, I can't say that in public because I am a public corporation. And my number one objective and goal is supposed to be to enhance shareholder value. My number one goal in life is to help Black folks move up. Okay. And I never focused on the money. It was perfect radio, my first business, 24/7. So it was a blessing in disguise when I lost my house, when I lost my car, when I couldn't pay myself a salary, that I slept for 18 months in a sleeping bag on the floor in the station. It was a blessing in disguise because I grew up with my business. As my business grew, okay, I was there around the clock. My employees could get to me 24/7. Not to mention the fact that some days I would be working 48 hours without just a nap in between. So it was all about having my first job being in this Black newspaper in Omaha, Nebraska, where Mildred Brown said that this newspaper has to stay alive. You have to do things to give a voice and a view to your community if you're going to succeed. And so I just took what I had experienced as a 14-year-old in her first job and incorporated it into what I was doing. And in the nation's capital, as you know, the news capital of the world, my show was ruling supreme in a market where I'm competing against NBC, CBS, ABC, because of the beauty of the Washingtonian, the community. When you're really being of service to your community, it's like your movie, how it's transported. It was so wonderful hearing about that. Yes.
Watts. We are some of our filmmakers in the audience as well.
That's so important. When you're really operating in the best interests of your people look out for you. They see to it that you will be, that's what you're seeing going on now with this battle, all the demonstrations. Black people realize that it is not our problem that is what's occurring now. Because if we look out for each other, that's how we survived slavery. We can survive anything as long as we are one. When we're on the same page. And the legacy of Dr. King, and thank God for the holiday. But my frustration is trying to get more people to understand the significance of coming together.
So community is so important.
Most important.
Dr. King talked about community, but we find it in this environment, right? There's so much disinformation, misinformation, and there's also a lot of confusion. People don't have media literacy to really understand it, even with the AI-generated stories and images, what is real and what is not real. So how do we help educate people in not just in the media, but across this audience here? What would be the best way to really inform yourself and inform others to create that type of positive community?
Number one, again, going back to Dr. King's strategy, it doesn't matter whether or not the story is popular. It's whether or not it's true, whether or not it has integrity. That's the most important aspect. We have to be true to the story. We have to understand that no weapon formed against you when it's coming from a position of truth is going to, and sometimes, as in the case of Dr. King, you may not be here to see it. You may not make it to the mountaintop with everybody, but your legacy will live on and get stronger and better as time progresses. We've got to have courage. We've got to be willing.
What does that look like?
It's scary because I just had this discussion. The mayor of Washington, D.C., who was personally trained by Marion Barry when she was on the city council, Muriel has decided not to run for our fourth term.
Okay.
And I'm disappointed. Because when you become a leader, you have to really be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. That sometimes means your family, your children, your relatives, and ultimately your life. That is the true definition. If you're really an effective leader, then there's a good chance that you won't see your end result. But you've got to be willing to make that sacrifice. And I think that, for years, when 50 years ago, I was on the first faculty of the Howard School of Communications, all we taught was be objective. Okay, you got to tell both sides of the story. Well, we live in a day and time now where there's only one side of the story being told. And it's critical for us with integrity and truth to have the courage to tell our side of the story.
What does that look like? So are the people who are the most powerful today, are they the ones who have like the hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, the influencers? Are they the billionaire bros? Like, who are the people when you look at the societal landscape and say, these are the folks either we need to become or these are the folks we need to oppose?
I think that, I'm sure you remember the days when I had the big protest against the Washington Post.
Yes.
And Catherine Graham said to me that instead of you trying to make my newspaper better, why don't you concentrate on making your company better? So I think that when you talk about opposition, that right now is a time for us to concentrate not on opposition, but on unification, on protection of each other, looking out for each other. I mean, Roland Martin now, classic example, is up to almost $2 million subscribers. That's a lot of money coming in to empower him to do certain things.
And I've been in the trenches with Roland.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Obviously, yeah, many years.
We've got to be willing to make the sacrifice. Okay, we have a lot of women in our community carrying around multi-$1,000 handbags. Okay, how about maybe scaling back and using that money to support some Black women doing other things as opposed to supporting a Black designer that is getting $25,000 for a purse? Okay, we've got to reprioritize what we do with our resources. We've got to identify that we're in a different time, that we must first do good for each other before we can do well for ourselves. And it's not about money. A quick story, James Ingram and Debbie and I were very close. It was, such a tragic departure at such a young age. But he was a favorite with the Arabs. And as false media is telling us, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, James told me a story where he went to the 18th birthday party. He was booked for the 18th birthday party of a sheik's only son, and that the ballroom where he performed was papered in $100 bills. Okay, they had turned it into wallpaper, whatever their currency was. He said he could barely remember the lyrics to his song staring at the wallpaper because he was wondering, are they going to tear it down? There is so much wealth that is going for stuff like wallpaper for us 18-year-old when we have people in every country that need help. Okay, but in these rich nations, we shouldn't have healthcare issues. We shouldn't have poverty. We shouldn't have homeless. Okay, you can't spend that level of money in your lifetime. Okay, if you buy everything that's for sale, you still would have some money left over. We have got to, particularly in the Black community, to understand that if I pay $2,000 to come for a ticket to come see you perform, you at least should be putting $2,000 into something that's going to help the community. Okay, we have got to refocus, and there's some people that are doing it. Okay, there are some individuals. Robert Smith is doing it. There's some big name, but it's not enough of us, because most of us are still trying to buy the best car, send our children to the best schools, have this. I mean, Martha's Vineyard, the first time I went was 25 years ago, and you could go around comfortably. Now it takes you 2 hours to drive 15 minutes because every Black person who can afford it goes to the vineyard, okay? And so they're like, how come you don't want to come to the vineyard? I said, because I don't like to be in gridlock traffic. Okay, quite frankly. The resources that we have available to us now because of education opportunities and so many things, because of a Dr. Martin Luther King, because of other individuals who really gave their lives so that we could sit here and have this conversation. I mean, we're not investing.
And we need to.
Exactly. Now HBCUs, thank God, have finally come up, okay? Our sororities are doing better, our fraternities. But you can do better right on your neighborhood, which you have proven with your movie.
The filmmakers themselves,
yes,
the residents of Watts that came out of them, and obviously, the production team that supported that, and it's very possible. It's very, very possible.
It really took 3 years out of your life to do it.
It was a 3-year project. Mike Sunan, executive producer, creator, and our filmmakers who are here as well. It came from the community, and they changed their outcome and their lives. It's a perfect example of what you're discussing. So,
absolutely, it's possible.
Yes,
but you are willing to make that sacrifice. Like I said, leadership carries a big price tag. Okay, you've got to be willing to do whatever is necessary to achieve your goal. So you could have been offered this CEO position of CNN or whatever, but you refuse to. You lose focus. You stay focused.
I don't think I want that job, but okay, especially not now. But that's all right.
Yeah, but I'm saying you didn't allow anything to distract you.
That is true.
And true leadership is willing to make that sacrifice. And we got to do a better job. Our preachers need to be less concerned about what our wives wear to big affairs. Okay,
so she is speaking truth now.
Okay,
I'm going to open it up to the audience. If the audience has any questions, it's your opportunity to go ahead and ask Ms. Hughes anything of interest to you. We have microphones, I believe, back there. And yes, if you just want to raise your hand, and we'll bring the microphone to you. Did I see? Yeah, why don't you stand and we'll start? We'll start with you.
Here you are.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here and bringing this news. So I wanted to talk to you about democratization. So much of our storytelling and our news outlets are looking quite alternative because of what's happened with monopolization. And so that, what you speak to, that authentic sacrifice to bring truth and to bring integrity. Talk to us about the opportunities for doing that when we've opened up, as we should, different ways of telling the story, different ways of bringing forth perspectives that we would have otherwise looked away from, right? Because it's not all these big conglomerates doing news and storytelling. Talk to us about that, and thank you.
I think that the benefit of social media is that anybody can become an influencer. And again, this shifting of our priorities, all right, I'm not as interested in what you're wearing today, all right, what your party you went to as I am. We have opportunities to get the truth with integrity out. We must use it for things other than our own benefit. And we must protect and encourage those who are willing to have a different viewpoint and to be truthful and be forthright, because there is a danger. You become a target. But the opportunities now, at one time, either it was print or electronic. Now there are thousands, but we have so many, particularly young people. And I think that we really have to understand the disconnect that's occurred. We have allowed those in power to encourage young people that basically it was okay to dispose of the elders. It was okay to just seek self-satisfaction, self-gratification. We have to assume the responsibility for that, because that actually starts in the home. And when you practice that in your home, you require it of your church and your schools. I'm surprised at how many Black families have started participating in homeschooling now and actually have associations, because they're not able to. But you have to instill that in young people. The powers to be that have this impression that we've been given unfair advantage and opportunities that we didn't earn, that we didn't deserve, and deprive them, that mentality started in that home, okay? That same white mama who did not change the thinking of her children then ultimately lost the ability for herself or her daughters to have abortions, because it's the same thing. If you do not instill in the young people this desire, you no longer have to depend on a CNN or even an Urban One. You can do it yourself. But one of the main problems with social media is, how do you flush out truth from fake news? That really is a true term. Fake news really does exist. But let me say to you about major media. Major media, including us, have become victims of advertising. All right? So oftentimes, particularly in I was willing to sacrifice the revenue for Dick Gregory to say what was on his mind. Once I went public, I no longer had that option. Wall Street tells you how much you can earn, what you can say, what you can do. So either going public puts a mute button on you, or your advertisers put a mute button on you. If McDonald's is your largest advertiser, you can't be on there talking about a hamburger that's 2 years old that still looks the same. Okay. All right. And not connecting the fact that those preservatives are not doing good for your body. If you can, I mean, too many young people have tried this hamburger trick. Okay, this is common. Those hamburgers and French fries look like they just came out of the cooker at McDonald's. Okay, so you can't be on there talking about the preservatives. You can't.
Yes. So there's a compromise that's
taken place
in legacy media.
Exactly. And major media is rolling over now,
Yes.
with this present administration because of the control of the FCC, and also wanting to be in with the in crowd. Okay? But what the Black community was very effective in doing to Target, just as in getting the publicity, Target has not had a good quarter.
Yes.
Okay, since they dropped their DEI. Black and brown people walk right on past it, okay, and figure out other alternatives. So you have to really be willing, in answer to your question, to have the courage to seek out that which is not correct, that which is false, okay, and be unafraid to speak the truth.
We have another several people in the audience.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Dr. Solomon King. I'm ambassador for peace and also for Bua Kingdom in Ghana to the US. Originally, I'm from Nigeria, and there is something that happened in 2013. My mom was rushed to the hospital. The public hospital was on strike. The private would not touch her. They were demanding for money. Within a few hours, when I raised the money, she was gone. And I froze for a long time. Now I live in California, and God commissioned me to do a future documentary for a group of not-profit. They are called AMPA. That's the Association of Nigeria Physicians in America. And what they've done for the last 30 years is they go back to Nigeria, to Africa. They just go back from Jamaica, and they will reach out and treat 5,000 people. And while I was doing the production, I got stuck because I did not deal with the pain of the system appealing to my mom. And I had to go through that. I had to forgive and had to tell a story without throwing the water and the baby. Now, my question is, I discover the African still somehow divided. There is a division between the African who are here and the African American. And it's because of the story, because they try to erase the history. They wrote the book, and we see ourselves. They told us that, oh no, they have a lot of opportunities. They're not using it. And they said to our people here that, oh no, we don't want to connect. So how can we learn to forgive ourselves? How can we come together? And how can we do that through storytelling? Thank you so much.
I think it's occurring. There are a lot of African Americans who are building properties and buying properties in Ghana. Ghana undertook an initiative to get it's a come home project. Stevie Wonder has a house there. There's a whole long list of celebrities that are. I think that it's a conscious effort. We've been brainwashed. Okay, Tarzan movies are still very popular. Okay, they think that Africa. I take groups to Africa with my radio station, particularly when I was on the air during that time. And I had PhDs asking me ignorant questions like, do they have air conditioning in the hotel that we're going to stay in? Because they had been brainwashed to think that if you go to Africa, you're going to be swinging from a tree, or you can't do this, or it's not available. That, again, is young people. I don't know too many middle-class or upper-class Black folks who have not been to Paris. There's something about Paris that fascinates. But when I suggest that we go to Africa, it's a whole different conversation. They want to know, like I said, I couldn't believe, this sister and I haven't mended our fence yet. I said, you have a PhD and you ask me if there's air conditioning in a hotel? Okay, it's a 4-star hotel in Africa. We have to really make a conscious effort to reunite with our homeland. But again, so much of it is that we've got to tell our young people the stories of the greatness from which we come. And we aren't doing a good enough job. A quick side story that I have to say to Dr. Bernice King. If not last year, year before last, for Black History Month, I ran a question. And I have not been to a birthday party for a Black person where they did not sing Stevie Wonder's Happy Birthday to you, okay? So my question to my audience and all my radio stations was, what was the purpose of Stevie Wonder writing that song?
Yeah.
And I want you to know that not one person won the prize, okay? Not one person in Washington, D.C. could tell me that it was tribute to Dr. King and get the holiday and pass. And school teachers, individuals, highly educated African Americans were telling me that they didn't know that. I was like, how could you not know that? Okay? But then I realized that I'm going to do the question again and again and again because it's our obligation to keep the information flowing.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, we allowed that story to be. Okay. And that actually, I mean, it's such a beautiful story because the movement to get they declared, had basically run out of fuel. And all of a sudden, everyone's singing this glorious song and feeling good about it, and it re-energized everybody. And guess what? We now have a holiday that we're celebrating. Okay? That song is performed at every Black birthday party in the world. Why not tell the story as right after you sing the song and connect it back to Dr. Martin Luther King's national holiday? Because again, one of the great things about Bernice's daddy is he believed it could be accomplished. He believed that he could make a change. You have to really have this belief in your heart. In addition to being willing to make the sacrifice, you have to be able to see it in your mind's eye. And that's what we're not instilling in our young people. And so they go on social media and read for hours about what someone's wearing, what Beyonce said, what this is, okay, Kim Kardashian, and we spend trillions of dollars, okay, on things that do not directly benefit us. And at some point, where do we pivot? Where do we change our lives? Where do we understand that what we've been doing is only working a little bit? Okay, you can't take all the credibility away from it, okay, because so many of us have advanced. But the reality is we could have a big advancement, a big leap forward, where we no longer, Prince George's County is heavily populated. It's number 3 in the country for foreclosures. And it's number 3 in the country on foreclosures on homes because most of those multi-million-dollar mansions were built off government contracts. And once those government contracts were eliminated, so you have a viable company and the government decides they no longer want to do business with you. If you really have a viable product or service, then we should be able to continue that with or without a government contract.
Yeah. And if we can wrap it up, I would like for you to just give us a call to action when you look at this very talented audience of professionals and people who are here to try to figure out a way to create more community and impact. What would be that call to action? What is the first thing, perhaps, that we need to do to make a difference?
Yeah, but I hate to do this, but I got to reverse this. You need to tell them because tonight you're going to air exactly what you're asking me what needs to be done. Okay, all right. You've done it. You've done it. Okay, I hear you. Okay. All right, so forgive me for doing that. Okay. What does it take for you to give 3 years of your life up to make a difference? That's not only going to affect the community that you did it in, but it's going to, what Dr. King said to me over lunch today, is this going to transform communities around this entire country? What did it take?
Well, it takes spirit, it takes community, it takes the community of Watts, the people there to.
But also you
make
could
a
see
difference.
it. Just like I said about Dr. King, you could see the end. You could see what your efforts could produce, and you were willing to see them through to get it.
Yeah.
Well, we all have a vision and faith that I hope that is true inside of all of us, right? That we all have that faith, that vision.
And so has everyone here been invited like I was to come?
Everybody has, I think so. Can I just ask a favor? Can we have our filmmakers and production folks from the films just stand up just to acknowledge them? Yeah. It's been an honor. It's been a blessing and an honor to be able to talk to you and to share this moment and for Dr. King to invite us here. So thank you so much. I'm sure people have questions afterwards. You stick around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Inspiration.
Okay, to finally be interviewed by you.
They be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
We must reflect the spirit and heart of King
To make America what it ought to be.
to transform unjust systems to inspire all of us. We may triumph.
Free at last! Free at